Welcome to Vivid Verses. If our words resonate with you, please subscribe, tap the like, and share your thoughts and your feelings in the comments. Now let's begin. The logistics of a 5th anniversary are not complex, but they demand precision. In my line of work, structural consulting for high-rise retrofits, success is determined by the load-bearing capacity of the foundation. Relationships operate under similar physics. You invest capital, you secure the timeline, and you rely on the integrity of the agreed-upon materials. I began the logistical framework for this weekend 6 months ago, January 12th. I remember the date because it was the morning after Sophia landed the Keston account. She was high on the adrenaline of the win, fluid and agreeable. I capitalized on that window to lock in the dates, September 15th through 18th. The target was the EOS Reserve in the Northern Cascades. It isn't a hotel. It's a controlled environment. No Wi-Fi, satellite phones for emergencies only, and a strict no networking policy. The entry barrier is financial, a $2,500 non-refundable deposit, but the real cost was the scheduling. To secure 4 days off the grid, I had to front-load 3 weeks of site inspections. I delegated the Seattle waterfront project to a junior associate, risking a 5% drop in quality control, just to ensure my phone wouldn't ring. I laid out the terms clearly in January. 4 days, 0 client contact. We reset the baseline. Sophia agreed. She put it in her calendar. I watched her sync the cloud data. That was the contract. The deterioration of the plan began 72 hours before departure. I tracked behavioral shifts like I track stress fractures in concrete. There were precursors. Monday, she came home late, smelling of the specific, stale air conditioning of the convention center. Tuesday, she was checking her email during dinner, hiding the screen under the table edge. Wednesday evening, the shift became overt. I was in my home office, reviewing the shear wall specs for the Weston renovation. The door was open. Sophia walked in. She didn't sit. She stood by the bookshelf, running her finger along the spine of a reference manual. This is her standard opening move when the news is bad. Occupy the hands to distract from the face. We need to calibrate on the weekend, she said. I didn't look up from the blueprints immediately. Calibration implies minor adjustments. The itinerary is fixed. We leave Friday, 0900 hours. There's a conflict, she said. I set the pen down. I swiveled the chair. Define conflict. The Vanguard mixer. They shifted the date to this Saturday. I knew the Vanguard mixer. In her industry, high-end brand management, it is regarded as a critical node for social capital. In reality, it is a room of 300 people desperate to justify their retainers, drinking warm Sauvignon Blanc and exchanging business cards that will be discarded by cleaning crews at midnight. It is a performance of work, not work itself. That is unfortunate for them, I said. We have a prior engagement. She finally looked at me. Her expression was calibrated, a mix of regret and determination, rehearsed in the mirror. Arthur, I have to go. The VP of Mergers from Omnicom is going to be there. If I'm not in that room, the narrative is that I'm losing momentum. I can't afford a dip in visibility right now. I analyzed the statement. It was a standard fear-based sales tactic. Create urgency. Inflate the stakes. You are the lead on the Keston account, I reminded her. Your metrics are up 14% quarter over quarter. Your visibility is based on revenue, not attendance at a cocktail party. It's about relationships, she countered. She stepped closer, moving into my personal space. This was the second phase of the negotiation, the charm offensive. I want you to come with me. I stayed silent. Think about it, she continued, her voice dropping into a register she uses for clients. We do the mixer Saturday night. We stay in the city. We do a high-end dinner at Loup Bernardin on Sunday. It's still a celebration, but this way we kill 2 birds. I get the FaceTime I need, and I show you off. Show me off. I repeated the phrase, flattening the intonation. Yes, it looks good, Arthur. Stable. When I walk in there alone, I'm a shark. When I walk in with you, I'm a dynasty. You ground me. Clients like seeing that I have a life outside the firm. It makes me trustworthy. I saw the mechanism clearly. She wasn't asking for my company. She was asking for prop. A husband, in her sector, is a distinct asset class. I signal stability, heteronormative reliability, and lack of desperation. If she attends alone on a Saturday night, she is hungry. If she attends with me, she is established. The deposit at EOS is non-refundable, I said. I'll cover it. She waved her hand, dismissing the money. She missed the point. It wasn't about the cash. It was about the allocation of priority. I'm not going to a networking event on our 5th anniversary, Sophia. I'm not going to stand in a circle of brand strategists while you sell the concept of our marriage to a VP from Omnicom. She stiffened. The charm offensive had failed. She switched immediately to the guilt protocol. You don't support my dreams. It was a sharp pivot. She crossed her arms, creating a physical barrier. If you loved me, she said, reciting the script, you'd want me to succeed. You'd understand that this industry is cutthroat. You'd want to be there to help me secure our future. Instead, you're fixated on a cabin in the woods because you hate people. I hate inefficiency, I corrected. And I hate broken contracts. It's not a contract, Arthur. It's a marriage. You're supposed to be flexible. Flexibility without a framework is just collapse, I said. I support your career. I managed the logistics of this house during the merger. I handled the contractors, the finances, and the relocation so you could focus on the launch. That is support. Asking me to cancel a milestone event so you can look successful in front of strangers is not a request for support. It is a demand for submission. You are framing my success as sabotage, she said. Her voice rose. You're jealous that I have somewhere to be. I looked at the clock. 20:45. The conversation was circular. I needed to cut the loop. I'm not jealous, I said. I'm observant. You have a hierarchy of values. Public perception is at the top. The maintenance of this relationship is somewhere in the middle, likely below your Instagram engagement metrics. That is unfair. It is accurate. You're married to the public, Sophia. I'm a mistress you see when you have time. I'm a quiet weekend. I am the safe harbor. But when the public calls, you cancel me. I am not interested in that arrangement. She paused. The word mistress landed. It was crude, but it was structurally sound. So what are you doing? She asked. Giving me an ultimatum? No. Ultimatums are for people who haven't made up their minds. I'm giving you a decision. Go to the mixer. I will not be there. I will cancel the trip. When you return, we will conduct a full audit of the relationship's viability. She stared at me. She expected me to fight, to yell, to give her something she could use to paint herself as the victim. Silence and logic are difficult to weaponize. Fine, she said. She turned on her heel. If you want to be petty, be petty. I have a career to build. She walked out. She slammed the door, which was a theatrical flourish. I noted the frame rattled. I would need to check the hinges later. Thursday morning, I executed the cancellation protocols. I called the EOS Reserve at 0800. The concierge was professional. I told him to release the booking. He reminded me of the forfeiture clause regarding the deposit. I authorized the charge. It was a clean transaction. The money was gone, but my schedule was now clear. I sent a brief email to my firm. Disregard previous out-of-office notification. I am available for remote consultation on the trust analysis for the bridge project. My senior partner replied within 3 minutes. He was relieved. The work is steady. The work respects the input-output ratio. Sophia and I occupied the same square footage for the next 2 days, but we existed in different operational zones. She slept in the guest room. We communicated only regarding essential household logistics, trash pickup, mail sorting. She was waiting for me to break. In her experience, conflict is a wave. It peaks and then crashes into a reconciliation phase. She expected me to walk into the kitchen, apologize for being rigid, and agree to wear the navy suit to the mixer. I did not break. I bought a slab of rough-sawn walnut and set up a workspace in the garage. I spent Friday evening planing the wood. It requires repetitive, forceful motion. You have to read the grain. If you push against the grain, the wood tears. If you work with it, it smooths out. It's a binary feedback loop. Sophia came into the garage at 1900. She was holding 2 glasses of wine. It was a peace offering, but it was also a trap. If I took the wine, I accepted the premise that the argument was over. "Arthur," she said. I didn't stop planing. The shavings curled up on the floor. "I'm working. We can still salvage the weekend," she said. "Come tomorrow, just for 2 hours. Then we can go to the coast." I looked up hotels. "The reservation was for the EOS," I said. "I'm not interested in a Holiday Inn Express on the coast." "You're being impossible." "I'm being consistent." She set the wine on the workbench. It vibrated slightly as I drove the plane across the wood. "Everyone asks about you," she said softly. "They want to meet the man who designed the load distribution for the stadium." "They don't want to meet me," I said, blowing sawdust off the surface. "They want to verify that you captured a high-value target." "I'm not a trophy, Sophia." She left the wine. It sat there until the condensation pooled on the wood. I poured it down the utility sink at midnight. Saturday, the day of the mixer. The atmosphere in the house was pressurized. Sophia spent the afternoon in prep mode. This involves a team of third-party contractors, hair, makeup, styling. They arrived at 1400. The bathroom smelled of hairspray and acetone. I stayed in the study. I read a technical analysis of the failure points of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. It was soothing. The bridge failed because of aeroelastic flutter, an external force that matched the structure's natural frequency until it tore itself apart. It was a relevant case study. At 1730, Sophia appeared in the doorway. She was wearing a silver gown, backless, tailored to within a millimeter of its life. It was designed to catch the light. It was designed to signal availability and status. She waited. She wanted the validation. She wanted me to say, "You look beautiful," which would bridge the gap. I look her up and down. I assessed the image objectively. "The hem is dragging slightly on the left," I said, "and the weather report calls for rain. You'll need the trench coat." Her face fell. The disappointment hardened into anger. "I'm leaving," she said. "Take the SUV," I said. "The sedan needs an oil change. I don't want you stranded." "I don't care about the car, Arthur." "I do. It's an asset. Drive safe." She turned. The fabric of her dress swished against the doorframe. I heard the front door open and close. The lock clicked. I was alone. The silence was absolute. It wasn't lonely. It was clarifying. I went to the kitchen. I cooked a ribeye in a cast-iron skillet, butter, thyme, garlic. I ate it standing up at the island. I didn't need the ceremony of a set table. I needed the protein. At 2000 hours, I opened my laptop. I'm not a masochist, but I believe in data collection. If I am to evaluate the viability of a marriage, I need to observe the variable in its natural habitat. I pulled up the Instagram feed for the Vanguard event. The hashtag was already populated with hundreds of images. I scrolled. It was a sea of forced smiles and bad lighting. And then I found her. Sophia is a professional. She knows her angles. In every photo, she was radiant. Head tilted, smile wide, body angled toward the camera. But I know the schematics of her face. I know the tension held in the masseter muscle when she is stressed. I saw in a photo posted by the Omnicom VP. He was holding a champagne flute. His arm was draped around her shoulder, A little too low, a little too familiar. Sophia was smiling, but her eyes were tight. She was leaning away from him, a shifting of weight distribution to the balls of her feet, ready to pivot. Next to her, on the other side, was a gap. In previous years, that gap was filled by my shoulder. My physical presence created a perimeter. I was the structural wall that prevented the unwanted encroachment. Without me, the perimeter was breached. I read the comments. Stunning Sophia. Flying solo. Where's the hubby? Thought it was your anniversary. Power move going alone. She was replying to them in real time from the bathroom. Likely. Arthur is slammed with a big project. Architecture never sleeps. Winking face. A lie. A clean, efficient lie to protect the brand. She was covering for the structural failure of the evening. I scrolled further. A group shot. Sophia is standing with 3 other women, all single, all hunting for prospects. By standing with them, she was categorized with them. The visual language was clear, open for business. I closed the laptop. The reality was stark. She was working harder tonight than she ever had. She had to generate the energy of 2 people. She had to deflect the inquiries, manage the unwanted advances, and maintain the facade of a happy marriage while standing alone in a room full of sharks. She had chosen this. She had calculated that the ROI of the mixer was higher than the ROI of the marriage. I went back to the garage. I cleaned my tools. I oiled the chisels. I swept the floor. The headlights swept across the driveway at 0115. I was in the living room, reading. I hadn't waited up, but I hadn't gone to sleep. I wanted to witness the condition of the return. The door opened. Sophia walked in. She looked dismantled. The hair was losing its volume. The dress was wrinkled at the waist. She was carrying her heels in her hand. Her feet were bare on the hardwood. She stopped when she saw me. She didn't expect me to be there. "You're up," she said. Her voice was hoarse. Talking over loud music for 4 hours damages the vocal cords. "I am," I said. She dropped her purse on the console table. It made a heavy thud. She walked into the room and collapsed onto the sofa. She didn't look at me. She stared at the ceiling. It was exhausted, she whispered. "I assume the networking was successful?" I asked. My tone was neutral. "I met the Omnicom guy," she said. "He wanted a meeting on Tuesday. Mission accomplished then." She turned her head to look at me. The adrenaline was gone. The facade was stripped away. She looked like a woman who had spent 5 hours defending a fortress that was empty. "They asked about you," she said. "All night. Where's Arthur? Is everything okay? Why aren't you celebrating? And what did you tell them?" "I lied," she said. "I told them you were working. I told them we celebrated last weekend." Efficient. It felt, she struggled for the word. It felt thin, standing there. Everyone else had someone. I felt exposed. "You were exposed," I said. "That is the nature of being single." She flinched. "I'm not single. Functionally, tonight you were. You made a choice to prioritize the public sphere. You removed the support structure to gain visibility. The result is exposure." She sat up. The silver dress looked ridiculous in the quiet, dim living room. It was a costume for a play that had ended. "I missed you," she said. It was an attempt at an emotional bridge. "You missed the utility of me," I corrected her. "You missed having a buffer. You missed having someone to get you a drink and fend off the drunk VPs. You didn't miss me, Sophia. You missed the asset." She didn't argue. She knew I was right. The logic was unassailable. "So what happens now?" she asked. I stood up. I closed the book. "Now I go to sleep. Tomorrow, I'm going to the driving range. You have a meeting to prep for on Tuesday. We will coexist." "That's it. We just coexist. Until the audit is complete," I said. "I need to determine if I am willing to renew the contract under these terms. Tonight confirmed the data. You are willing to breach the agreement for potential gain. That makes you a high-risk partner." I walked toward the stairs. "Arthur," she called out. I paused, hand on the banister. I'm sorry. I know you are, I said, without looking back. But you're sorry because the evening was hard, not because you hurt me. Those are different, distinct emotional states. I went upstairs. I brushed my teeth. I checked the lock on the window. I got into bed. Sophia came up 20 minutes later. She scrubbed the makeup off her face. She changed into an oversized t-shirt. She climbed into bed. She stayed on her side of the mattress. There was a foot of space between us. It felt like miles. I closed my eyes. The house was quiet. The foundation was settling. I slept soundly. The logistics of the future would be complex, but for now, the data was gathered. And facts, unlike feelings, are something I can work with. Thank you for listening. That brings today's story to a close. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. See you next time.